of these Democrats was president of the local council of bosses, lobbying the legislature for immunity from liability for putting their employees in egregious risk to COVID.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We're a Union Talk radio show. Both of us are union members. Both of us are workers. We don't make money from this show. We're not professional pundits, right? We go to work. I do like the 9 to 5 thing, and Adam has a little bit, a little bit more hectic of a schedule being a stagehand. But, the reason that we have at least a passing interest in the Democratic Party here in the state is not that we are Democratic partisans. It's because it is obvious that the Republicans don't care about us. Just a few examples that are all recent, right? Kay Ivey, in a letter with other Republican governors, is trying to get Joe Biden to rescind his executive order mandating project labor agreements on federal construction projects over $35 million. Now, this sounds like, what project labor agreement, $35 million? This is all like hoity-toity, I don't know what that means. That means project labor agreements increase wages, they make benefits better, they make the jobs safer, and they keep more of the jobs local. She is lobbying for Joe Biden to rescind the order to make those things happen in Alabama on federal construction projects. That's all you need to know about that. The Alabama Attorney General still has not so much as commented on child labor in his state. We have children, 12-year-old children, working in manufacturing facilities with $50,000 OSHA fines for amputation hazards, among other things. And he hasn't even commented about it. The top law enforcement officer in the country, or in the state. When Democrats last year tried to pass a Pregnant Workers Protection Act in the same year that Roe would later be overturned, no less, Republicans killed it. Republicans want to allow pregnant workers to be discriminated against because they're pregnant. And yet, they want them forced to be pregnant. Tommy Tuberville read from a Warrior Met press release when his constituents were in D.C. testifying to how that company is screwing them over. When Alabamians were in D.C. on talking about how Warrior Met and these private equity firms are screwing them over, Tommy Tuberville read from the press release of international private equity firms, not from Alabamians. Not a single Republican, in fact, has supported these striking miners. Instead of supporting workers in their state, Republican politicians and their pundit class want to make us mad at each other. They want us to attack each other. They want to attack immigrants. They want to attack gay folks so that we don't get mad at all their buddies donating to their campaigns, right? So it's obvious to folks paying attention, it should be, that the Republican Party wants to grind working people into powder because they are fully beholden to the bosses. And it would be nice to have a party in the electoral sphere that stood up for working people, that was a partner to working people, to labor. And for now, and that actually had some power to do something for us. And for now, the main opposition party is the Democrats, who I do want to say have done some things for working people in Alabama, and then more federally. They were able to successfully block the anti-protest bill, which would have further hampered our ability to strike in the state. And like I said, Democrats tried to pass a Pregnant Workers Protection Act to protect pregnant folks from discrimination on the job. And one or two of them have even been supportive of the coal miners. And the Tuscaloosa County Party has donated to their strike fund, and the state party, at one point anyway, was sending out fundraising emails for them. Of course, there are some times that they underperform. I saw merchandise of several local Democratic candidates here in Huntsville, and not a single piece of their merchandise had a union bug on it. Who knows if they were even made in the country, right? Could have been made in China. One of these Democrats with non-union merch was bragging in an ad about having been president of the local council of bosses, also known as a chamber of commerce, at a time when she was president of that organization, at a time when those organizations were lobbying the legislature for immunity from liability for putting their employees in egregious risk to COVID in the workplace. A lobbying effort that was successful in Alabama, by the way. And then there are the whole suite of issues from which Democrats are simply absent in the battleground. That they're just not present in any meaningful way. The Democratic Party in Alabama has, through multiple changes in leadership in this state, gone from controlling both chambers of the state legislature to almost total irrelevancy since 2010. A party that cannot field candidates for half the races, much less all of them, could hardly be considered functional. And a party that does well to lose by 20 points, that's doing well. And in a supermajority of districts, could hardly be considered competitive. And those are just a couple of the many symptoms of deeper issues with the party in this state.
Yeah, and I want to jump in here and just share a few thoughts, particularly after this election. And I want to start by saying that the working class in Alabama, as elsewhere, is the majority, right? We are the majority numerically. We're also the most diverse class. And, you know, it's worth reflecting as we talk about how the Republicans do not represent us, that we don't have representation in the state of Alabama. Working class people, we don't have representation. We don't have legitimate opposition to the far right. We don't have a viable opposition to right-wing ideology and to the right-wing politicians who dominate this state at the behest of bosses. And, you know, I'm tired of Alabama being the best at everything bad and the worst at everything good, right? I'm tired of Alabama's quality of life ranking at or near the bottom on every single metric. And I know I'm not the only one. Working class people deserve better in the state of Alabama and elsewhere. And for me, I think and I want an interracial working class movement that can actually change the balance of power here in Alabama and elsewhere. That's what I want to see. And frankly, I think it's our best and only hope to respond to the multiple layers of crisis that we're experiencing. We have a societal downward spiral of exploitation, of oppression, and environmental destruction. And if we're to pull ourselves out of it, it's going to take everyday people, white and black, gay and straight, native and immigrant, all pulling together along our common interest and our common ground as working people, as people who don't own anything but our labor that we have to sell to somebody else and hope it's enough to survive on. That's the state of the situation here in Alabama. And we don't have an adequate voice. And so, you know, that's been on my mind this week as I've digested this election and these election results, and as we prepared to talk with Chairman Kelly. And, you know, I'm very appreciative of his time to come on the show and talk with us. And I'm looking forward to hear what he has to say, because I think there must be dialogue between those who are in positions of political leadership and those of us who are out living our lives, hoping for progressive change, trying to make a difference in the community.
So I think that the big questions, and I think you were hitting on them there, for working people in this state are these. Will the Democratic Party in Alabama be able to pull itself out of the slump it is in and be able to once again contest Republicans in a serious way? How does it do that? If they do, will they represent the interests of working people as a contestant in the political arena? Is it worth you, listener, as a working person, devoting any of the time that you've been able to get free from your boss, any of your hard-earned money, to the party, to these candidates? Are the people at the helm capable of turning this apparatus into a real force, and will they have your interests in mind? You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.